We spent 14 days living outside in a tent on a tiny island in the Pacific Northwest with our 1-year-old, rising with the sun each morning, completely vulnerable to the elements, with our only escape option being a tiny rowboat. No screens, no heat or AC, almost no walls, just nature. I have always felt a pull to be outside. I love hiking, I love camping. I also just love to enjoy sipping a cup of coffee on my front porch while the sun is shining on my face. I find nature and fresh air and birdsong to be so therapeutic and stress relieving. It just feels right to be outside. And ever since having a baby, I've become really interested in this topic from a scientific standpoint. Like, why is it so beneficial for us to be outside all the time? And what have we lost as a society that primarily lives indoors, under fluorescent lights, sitting at a desk all day, starting at the age of 5? I've been really inspired by books like There's No Such Thing as Bad Weather. I also read The Last Child in the Woods, and I've really tried to prioritize getting outside with my daughter as much as possible. But to be honest, it's a challenge just with the way that our lives are set up right now, similarly to the majority of families in the Western world. We have 2 working parents who both need to work in order to make money to support the family. We also live in New York State, where the weather conditions can be pretty extreme, and there are also a lot of ticks. Our yard is just infested with bugs, but especially ticks, and we've all gotten multiple ticks, including my baby. And so it's hard to be outside and feel fully relaxed. Okay, see, but then there's moments like this where a mama deer and her baby fawn just walk up right behind me in my yard. That is pretty special. So all of this to say, I deeply appreciate that we are natural creatures who belong in the natural world, but it truthfully requires a lot of effort in order to get outside in this phase in our lives. So I was so excited to see what happens when you let your child live outside and become integrated with the natural world. Our extended family has camped on this beautiful land in the Pacific Northwest for decades, and my husband Carson and I have been looking forward to sharing this place and this experience with our babies long before I ever got pregnant. This environment is not what we would traditionally think of as baby-friendly. The ground is incredibly uneven with thick roots and rocks and lots of barnacles on the beach. The water is incredibly cold and it can get very windy. But it was clear my daughter immediately felt at home. She was so excited to roam and explore. She was so curious and engaged, but also calm and more at ease. She slept so well at night and would wake up with just the biggest smile on her face. And while the cold water initially gave her pause, she quickly realized how fun it was and would drag us into the water with her. And she loved being naked. Unfortunately, I was just really wrapped up with work in the first week that we were there. I had some deadlines and I was just so busy and overwhelmed. But in the second week, I took a hard look at my to-do list and just decided it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it to miss out on this opportunity to slow down and be present and just relax with my family. So after renegotiating my priorities, things really turned around, and I definitely noticed my daughter seemed to drop in even more so, because I'm sure she was carrying some of that tension that she felt from me. We started taking daily walks in the old growth forest that's on the land. She's just starting to learn how to walk, so sometimes she would walk and hold my hand. A lot of times I would just carry her through the woods. We also took multiple 2-hour-long contact naps in a hammock. I just couldn't help but feel like this is what life is all about. These slow, cuddly moments where we're just watching the leaves blow in the wind, or feeling some moss on a tree, or playing with the anemones at low tide. It wasn't always perfect. There were rainy days, there were bees, and as I mentioned, some days were pretty exhausting. But that mostly had to do with me still being wrapped up in hustle culture. Murphy was also very attached to me, much more so than she typically is at home. But to be honest, I think that was due to the people rather than the environment. We had a lot of extended family with us, many of whom she'd not met before, so she definitely took refuge with her mama. But when faced with an open field or water, she was a free spirit. She just wanted to take off. This trip has really made us think seriously about our vision for the future long term, because as much as I prioritize getting outside in our day-to-day here in New York, it's always going to be a little bit of a challenge with our current setup. And that is true for so many of us. Our modern society just isn't conducive to living the way that our ancestors lived. We don't have any answers yet, but we know that we want to live much more in rapport with the land, with a house that's potentially off-grid, that blends indoor and outdoor spaces, potentially with an outdoor cooking setup and outdoor dining, with a large garden and chickens, where being outside is just a part of our daily rhythm. We're obviously not there yet, but that's the dream. And in the meantime, we're doing our best. Nature is healing for kids and adults. And while 14 days of unstructured time in the wilderness is luxurious, we don't need it to benefit from the great outdoors. Open up your windows, enjoy some evening walks, get curious about the plants in your area, let your kids explore, garden, picnic, just take a few grounding breaths of fresh air. Any time outside can make a difference in our mood and overall well-being. If you want more videos on slow, intentional living, subscribe to join the journey, and never forget, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes.